Okay, so in terms of the data center industry and how you first got into it, just be good to understand, were you, I don't know, when you were a youngster, thought, yeah, I always want to be in the industry? Did you arrive there by accident? Just how you ended up in the data center industry?
Yeah, it's pretty funny because when I speak to a lot of people, it seems to be an accident. However, mine was a bit different. So I did an internship after I left college with Seabury in the data center team, whilst I was trying to work out whether I'm going to go into finance, data centers, or whatever it could have been, just to get prepare me for what I was going to do in the future. So I spent about 7 months in the data center transactions team. Um, Whilst I was working in retail at the time, as I say, I didn't have a clue of what I was going to do. Actually, quite enjoyed it, to be fair. Enjoyed the whole idea of data centers and new fresh technology. It was so important and it was so misunderstood at the time, and I wanted to understand what that meant. So I went looking for an apprenticeship, saw that there was an opportunity at a company called Cult, um, and I spent 2 years there, and that's kind of where things really kicked off and understood that you know actually those one of my key conversations that I had, what I would take with me forever, was a gentleman called Quee who was talking about hyperscale. And at the time, I had no clue what he was talking about, and he was breaking it down to me about all these services that you're using, all these things that you're doing, is practically run the cloud. And I was like infatuated with the idea. And at that point, I kind of said to myself, "You're kind of going to have to stick here," especially when I looked around the room and I saw that I was a lot younger than most people. I was like, if I stick at this for long enough, I will be somewhat important if I learn enough and keep on that trail of thought. And I gave that advice to the other person that joined at Colt and said, look, we need to stay here for as long as we possibly can, absorb what we possibly can. And I took that route. They didn't, but they eventually came back because it's quite sticky and it is quite good. So after that, I didn't have a job for a bit, but I was applying for roles still within data centers and found myself in a couple of good conversations that led to me going to JLL, and I've been here for 4.5 years now.
Okay, and in terms of what you're now doing, your current role, so what I suppose, what did you start doing at the company, and how has your career, evolved within JL to date? That'd be good to understand.
Yeah, it's gone up quite a bit from year to year. When I came in, it was pretty funny because the industry thought I was replacing someone very senior, and it was me explaining to them that I'm not that guy. I'm a young, new, fresh guy out the hat, just keen to learn. So when I came into JLL, I was just an extra pair of hands with a bit of experience to, project by project, offer support that kind of understood or had a understanding of what was going on. The team took a big shift. We had a bit more movement in within JLL. The team pretty much started again, and ever since then, I've been the research guy. So that's writing our quarterly papers that we put into the market, doing the stats that we produce on a monthly basis, as well as ad hoc reports if you're interested in certain, markets or individual piece of land or whatever it may be, underwriting those transactions. And as I've kind of gotten to grips with that, a bit more of a strategy role and more forward looking into what markets may be interesting as well to support with what business plan or ideas you've got for the next 3, 5, 7, 10 years.
And just out of interest, are you mainly office based? Do you get to go and visit sort of clients, data centers? How does the mix of a typical week, if such a thing exists?
Yeah, so you know, going back to when I first started, I was in the office every single day. Sort of loved it, sort of loved putting a suit on. Um, COVID happened. and then I found myself being very, very, very productive at home. So I am one of those guys that do like the hybrid model. Um, and I would say when I do go into the office, I do like to meet clients. I do want to make it useful for me to step out of the house rather than being locked in on Excel and PowerPoint and Word and the internet and all that stuff. And, get that human to human interaction. Um, and to be honest, it's funny because if I feel like you've been monitoring a few of my conversations, because last week I was talking about I want to see some more data centers. I want to get more out there, especially with what I do. It's good to, actually see these things with your own eyes so you can make forecasts on what's happening based off what you see directly. So that's something I want to do more of. It was something that I was doing quite a lot when I first started, whilst I was trying to get to grips with this whole industry and thing. But it's kind of fallen off a little bit. But yeah, definitely something I want to be doing in the next, this year and going forward. Especially because there's some pretty sexy data centers that are being built these days. And one that stands out for me, I've got no ties to this data center, by the way, but I just love the look of it because it looks like the Allianz is the Digital Realty Part 8, 9, 10, 11 campus, where they've got that like pizza looking thing where they've got it in four quadrants. That's like sick. I want to see that. So, yeah. Um, So in terms of my week, I'm predominantly at home, but I go into the office 2 to 3 times a week. Um, yeah, and try to get some client meetings in between as well.
So in terms of what you enjoy about the industry, obviously you're going to have a look at some of these data centers. Sounds like that's high up the list. But in terms, just more generally, what is it the actual work you're doing, the fact that the industry underpins sort of the whole world almost, but just what is it that gives you a buzz being involved?
Yeah, I never thought I'd be this guy saying this, but I really enjoy what I do for work. Like I really, really enjoy it. I'm passionate about it. And what I enjoy most is just how important we are. The analogy I always use when I describe myself to people is through work, I feel like I'm almost like Superman and Clark Kent. So when I'm, in data center world at JLL, I feel like I'm Superman. I'm fighting crime, solving problems, making people's lives better. I go into my personal life and I'm almost like Clark Kent. No one really knows exactly what it is I'm doing. Probably because of the way I explain it. I'll hold my hands up to that. But no one really understands what all the things that they do and love and enjoy at home and outside relates to what I do for work. And I love that. It's a fault of the industry, don't get me wrong, but um, it makes me feel good the fact that I know what I'm doing actually leads to my personal life improving, as well as the people around me and everybody else, which is something I don't think most people get to say. So it's really cool. I think so anyway.
And in terms, I mean, you mentioned the industry probably doesn't do itself any favors the way it explains itself, but what other frustrations, or is that the moment, or put it another way, other things you think when you go into work or just see the industry more generally, think, hey, why can't we do this? Or this is a way we could improve the whole industry. Just, any frustrations you might have or thoughts as to, ways in which the industry could, improve the way it either operates or portrays itself, to outsiders.
Yeah, there's a few. I think overall most of them come up to the reactiveness of the industry. Um, we are tech forward looking. However, like the ongoings of what we do isn't as much. The examples I use is if you look at like data center land, a lot of it is based around, hyperscalers desires. There isn't many people being speculative anymore. And the same way that you look at sustainability has always been an issue, problem, talking point for a numerous amount of years. However, only now that regulations coming into play is when people want to start taking it seriously and hiring people to fulfill those jobs and needs and requirements that you're going to have to do. And that also has a downstream effect into, talent acquisition or new people enter into the market. It was great for me a few years ago when I first started to say, look, I'm one of the youngest guys in the room. I've aged since then, but it still looks like the same level of people coming into to data centers is staying at the same or probably even declining because of what I just said. Because we're so reactive, you get into a situation where you need quicker solutions. Unfortunately, the younger people that you get into the industry aren't going to have the answers to those solutions unless you train them. So that's kind of a long-winded way of saying, getting younger people is something I would love to see. People around my age, we can start talking on a more casual basis about, what it is we do and have like a little close-knit network and stuff like that. But, there's still a big gap, and it's probably due to the reactiveness of the way we do work, especially because we're so forward-looking. You'd think it wouldn't be the case, but unfortunately it is. And, one thing I said I loved is, being important and that mission critical, nature of it. But there is some things we can prove insight to. And, on the journey of going through this Rising Stars thing, I've spoken to students, sat at conferences with people that are interested in getting younger talent into the mix. And, we have to position ourselves in the larger bucket of people, rather than being, if you find us and you're onto something, you found a diamond. Put ourselves to be seen by the masses, and that way we're going to get more people that are interested, and then we can start simming down and being a bit more selective on who comes in as well, rather than the end goal being finding us and you're doing the right thing.
Yeah, you mentioned Rising Stars there, so it'd be good to understand a bit more about the program. It'd be good to first how you got involved, and just a quick, I guess I'm sure you could talk for a long time about, but just give us a highlights of what the program is, what it's designed to do.
Well, what it's designed to do is pretty much combat everything I just said, to be honest. Make the industry more seen, or become more seen. I think it's actually not just about data centers, which is one of the things I love about it. It's providing so one of the most difficult things with being 17 or 18, whenever you leave school and have to go into work, if that's the route you go down, is you've got a massive life decision at that age, at such a young age, and you've kind of got no one really to fall back on, because you look into school, the people within your school, your teachers, and whoever else is in there are going to tell you from their experience what's great. A lot of those people that went to university, so they're probably going to push you down the university route. Since I left school, as I mentioned in the beginning, I did an apprenticeship. I can speak to an apprenticeship. I wouldn't tell you that apprenticeship is the best way to go, but I know best about that, so I probably will speak most about it. And then, unfortunately, through that, it's going to sound like apprenticeship is the best way to go. The best way to make a decision is to get a rounded view, and then by individual needs and preferences of what you're looking for, you can make the decision that resonates best with you. And that's kind of the way I look at Rising Stars. So by putting myself in a room that can speak to apprenticeships, can speak to a young person working now today, you are helping assist what people's futures will look like by providing the information that resonates with you. For myself, and also the people that I'm in the room with, my journey is completely different from a lot of the other rising stars. So it's just providing the information to be able to step into work life. When it comes to the data center piece, it's what I literally just said about combating, some of the things that frustrate me, and putting data centers at the forefront of conversation and making people know that there's an opportunity there if you would like to take it. So, and on the flip side, on the corporate level, sorry,
that's right.
Making, opening up what they offer and how important it is and how interesting it is ultimately. So there's been a couple of companies that have allowed data center tours, sponsored events, about getting younger talent in.
And in terms of the activities, then, am I right in thinking it's a sort of broadly twofold? So the program is promoting the industry to youngsters, hence you go into schools and
Hmm.
just explain to people what the data center industry is about and how you can have a career in it. But also you're networking with your peers. So the younger folks that are already in the industry, you sort of network and give each other a bit of support and stuff. Is that also an important part of what the program does?
Yeah, it's it's cool. Sound like such a weirdo saying that, but um, it's great to know that people around your age would probably. So, I mean, take a step back. I'm going to be significantly younger than most people. Am I going to feel like I can open up completely about the frustration I have during work with all of my outside friends? Maybe the ones that are interested, maybe your best friend or so. It's always nice to know that there's someone that's going to probably be facing a similar issue to you because they're in the industry, probably doing something similar, maybe with a similar client or, you know, just overall the type of, sector they fall under. They're kind of going to know what you're talking about. And it's nice to know that you can have a conversation about what's going on, the good stuff, the bad stuff, and sort of have that support network. So the Rising Stars offers that. And it's nice to know that there's just people like yourself in and around town. And we all work somewhere near central London, so we're always quite close to get to people as well. So and actually when I say that, one of the people that I've spoken most with on calls is from Birmingham. Probably would never have come across her if I wasn't in Rising Stars, right? So expanding your network is another great benefit of it. And then on the flip side, as you mentioned, going in, speaking to students, helping them make decisions, or being someone to speak to as a point of reference. Maybe they don't want to ask the teacher the question. They don't want to sound stupid, but they can do it to me because I'm only, well, when I first started, a bit younger, close to their age, but yeah, about 6 or 7, 8 years away from them. So yeah, we offer that as well, I guess.
And in terms of the Rising Stars, you were lucky enough, or you were good enough, with how you say, to win the Rising Stars award at last year's DCS Awards. So I'm not going to suggest it was completely life changing, but have you sort of benefited from the recognition that gave you? Just sort of any impact being involved in the awards and obviously winning it, the sort of bonus, what it's done for you.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. You know, the DCS Awards is massive. Obviously, I'm speaking to a few people where I'm hounding them to have a conversation and chasing them on certain things. But since I won the award, it's more of a level playing field, I want to say. I'm not saying that I was underneath them ever, but just a lot of people came to speak to me saying, "Oh, congratulations!" Kind of icebreakers as well, so expanding the network even further. And there's a general interest there. I think everyone is kind of under the impression that there needs to be an injection of youth. There's an aging population, all that stuff. So people are quite interested to have those conversations. So winning the winning the award kind of put me in the spotlight for now until the next one. Oh, sorry, last year till the next one. To be a person to speak to and like, what's your thoughts, what's your feelings, what's your opinions on things, and it's a level playing field in that discussion because I'm talking about something I'm in and have experienced, and some people are trying to address this issue that I've gone through. So my input's valid. When I think about when I first started, scared to put your hand up, raise a point that I thought, well, that didn't sound right. Now it's people saying, Xavier, what's your view? It's an easier way to step into a conversation when someone's directly asking you, rather than you having to be the bold one putting your hand up. So yeah, it's made things a bit easier. It's all, as I say, raise the network, improve the profile. Yeah, benefits have been great. So I'm very thankful to have won the award, I must say.
And in terms of for this year, I mean, what would you give any advice to people thinking of entering it? And also just a bit more widely in terms of the rising stars again, if they're maybe not engaged as yet, just why they should get involved as well.
Uh, so in terms of like why people should get involved, it's if you're in, it doesn't have to be data centers to be fair, but it kind of does. But it's important. You know, we're talking about something, you know, to preserve, you know, our livelihoods. I don't. That sounds a bit extreme, but that's what data centers do. At the end of the day, we live off it. I can't imagine how long people spend on their phones these days. I can't imagine how long I spend on my phone. Um, you know, so you're getting younger people, students interested, revved up. It's an important thing, and right now it's kind of overlooked. So and for me, in my case, it resonates well with me. It resonates with me because I've always had the desire to be a mentor, someone that people look up to. That's how you elevate yourself. It's giving back. You know, you learn different skills about yourself. Like through the rising stars, I've had to sit on a podcast like this. I haven't done this many times. I've had to sit on panel discussions. I haven't had to do that before. So you learn a lot more about yourself outside of your workplace, but still being work related. So if you know JLL ever asked me to do a panel discussion, it's not going to be like my first time, my first rodeo. I've got some experience of doing that, and would be better than when I was on my first one. I would hope, especially because what I'm speaking about is about me. The easiest thing to speak about is your areas of expertise. If I don't know me well enough by now, then I'm doing something wrong. So it's a nice way to as a segue to do a lot of these things because a lot of things you're talking about is yourself and your experiences, and that's what you're providing people, and that's what people want to know about you. And so there's an interest there. And the first question, I've kind of been lost in what I was just saying, so I'm gonna have to say it again. What was the first part of the question? Sorry.
First part was actually the rising, the actual award. I mean, hopefully it wasn't too onerous to to fill it in and apply. So just really, you'd presumably recommend other folks to to
Yeah.
get involved in
Oh,
the
yeah.
awards.
Sorry.
It's a good
Yeah.
thing to do.
Yeah. I'm with you. Yeah. I think I think the best thing that happened from the application process is you actually take the time to sit there and think, what have I done in the past year that's actually made a difference? Or what have I done in the past year that I've shown a development of myself and then has seen a development of something else as an outcome? I think with working, you kind of get in, with working generally, you kind of get in this race of always going to the next thing. You never really take a chance to stand back and say, oh, you know what, I was at this point at this time, and now I'm at this point now. So doing even the application process, I was like, you know what, that's pretty impressive. I was kind of blown back of some of the stuff I've managed to do, conversations I've been in, what I've managed to, learn, pick up just through the application process, let alone, going to the awards night and having to put on my dad's suit to pick up an award. To pick up an award. So yeah, the application process is even beneficial in that way.
And maybe just finally, still vaguely related to data centers, but in terms of, yeah, you've had the career there, earning a salary, etc. But how has it enriched? Now, if that's not a too pompous question, but yeah, how has it enabled your, what you do outside of work? Has it sort of, given you the freedom to do certain things, yeah, outside of work? Yeah, just any thoughts as to
Yeah,
how that's worked?
yeah. So I mean, data centers is a lucrative business. You if as long as you develop it in the right way, you should get the rewards for it. As I mentioned, when it's complete supply and demand, people are going to want to keep you if you're actually good at what you do, and there's not that many people around, right? So it's been good in that way, and that's obviously led to me doing a few things that I thought was pretty cool. So like start my own YouTube channel. So with doing that, you obviously have to pay for an editor. You can also learn yourself, but I was able to pay for an editor to do my videos as well as a cameraman to help me film the stuff, travel. So like I always go to Dubai every year pretty much with my friends. Um, so oh, and obviously other trips as well. That I want to continue doing, and data centers working helps facilitate that. And I think ultimately the point is, if you get into data centers, you enjoy it and you got a passion for it, you're most likely to stay, and you're most likely going to uplift and elevate yourself throughout your career too. Um, you know, as long as you're a good egg. But other things I enjoy, football. I'm an avid football player. Not so much now, but obviously because of injury. But if you asked me 10 years ago, what do I want to be? I would have said a football player. So heavily involved in that. Support Arsenal. Hope everyone that listens to this supports Arsenal as well. And if you do speak to me, please support Arsenal. Yeah, and sports fitness is always something that I've been involved in through my love of football, right? So constantly in the gym, constantly trying to improve like my running, my general flexibility and all that stuff. But I'm rounding on. That's pretty much me. That's what I do. And actually, the last one, the key one, is I've also designed clothes in my journey throughout life, something I thought was really cool. And if I saw the drawings that I did from day one versus the tech pack that I made last year, it went up by quite a bit. So I'm quite proud of that one. So I thought I had to mention that.
Well, that's interesting. Maybe you could combine the two and come up with sort of uniforms for the day. I don't know, people work in data centers, but no, I don't know. That's probably not that inspiring. I don't know, but I
Maybe a Rising Stars superhero
was going to say, yeah, superheroes
uniform.
versus Clark Kent outfit or something. I don't
Yeah, there it is.
know. It's been great to chat to you, Xavier, and I really enjoyed it. And thanks for the insights, obviously, into what you're doing and the Rising Stars as well. So appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
No, thanks again.